Did I ever tell you guys about the time I was headbutted?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, brother. Picture it. Third floor balcony of a bar, Osaka, Japan, 1997. Extremely drunk guy outside on the bar. What are you drinking? You're drinking. You're drinking. Are you drinking like honey out of a beaker?
Name
Is
a
that an
different kind of
Erlenmeyer beaker?
It's iced tea. I'm sorry. So anyway, you know what? Let's start the show.
You look nice today.
California King.
I was drinking in a bar. It was very late at night, and there's this guy out on this little balcony who was very drunk and very upset. So upset that he was climbing over the railing, doing really dumb things on this balcony. So I went out with my provisional Japanese to try and talk him down from whatever issue he had. And so I'm out there speaking in the either simple present or simple past tense about what are clearly complex emotional issues that this guy's going through. I think we have a breakthrough. He, registering his disagreement, headbutted me perfectly in the eye and knocked one contact lens out. The contact lens was gone. Like I don't know how he so precision attacked me with his forehead that he was able to rid me of a contact. But that was my payment. And then I walked around all night with half a vision, seeing some weird shit.
I didn't know that Japanese headbutted. I thought that was strictly the domain of Scottish football hooligans. Was he? You're a tall man, though, Scott.
Yeah, I it's hard to if we were doing what was it? The Warren Commission? What was the JFK trial?
Yeah, the Zapruder film.
If we were doing a Zapruder film about this, and Kevin Costner was standing in front of me with a laser pointer, I don't know if it would all add up. It's a memory I have, and I'm really confident in this memory, but I can't see like string.
There might have been
board.
A second headbutter from the book depository.
It might have been two guys. I might have been breaking up an acrobats fight between.
That makes more sense.
It kind of. I don't know. It's true. He was certainly shorter than me. I probably had 6 inches on him, and so how did his forehead manage to meet? I don't know if I was doing like a Prince William style like head.
Maybe you were bowing.
You're doing half Charles.
I might have been cocking and going. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I always like to say, let it begin with me. I have a very guilty conscience, and the best part, when you have a guilty conscience, it is necessarily about things you did and didn't do. And I wonder if part of it is maybe your Japanese friend and your wife know things that you don't, but you do know really that you had culpability in that, or maybe you only came in on part of a story even before you lost the contact. Do you think any of that comes out of? This is definitely not projecting on my part because I'm just trying to help. But do you suppose part of that is that you fucked up so many different things, you might as well just put another one on my tab?
It's a great question. I think the answer that immediately leaps to my mind is, if I'm not necessarily deserving of a headbutt in that moment,
yeah,
that's
what
I had it coming.
Yeah,
I had it coming 100 other times.
Yeah,
so I'll take it. I'm not bitter or upset lingeringly about that attack, and
it's also like the phrase I comes to mind is taking it personally, right? So like one problem with any kind of criticism is if you're particularly like raw and vulnerable about something, you might be a little bit touchy about that. So then you hope you get blamed for something that you can handle, rather than something that reveals a deep insecurity that you're not ready to address, Scott.
Yeah. I don't know at this point, to be honest, what that could be. I'm so open to everything that's blamable in my life, most things, that I don't think there's much left that you could nail me on. We could try. We could try and find it. It's probably there. It's probably right on my face. Is it my nose? It's my nose.
I mean, I think all three of us do have fairly punchable faces, which sucks, or head-buttable eyes. Adam, what have you done wrong lately?
Oh, a lot. Just like micro wrong. You know?
Yeah.
Not microaggressions, but micro, just like being, it's a million paper cuts wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think objectively a decent guy, but I just fuck up a lot in tiny ways all the time, and it's just enough in the aggregate to make me question whether I'm actually not decent, and should be punched. Honestly, I'd be okay with it if I deserved it. If it was justified, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I get it.
It would be kind of a relief.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly
it's great to receive one swift, sharp rebuke as opposed to something much more lasting and subtle. It is the beauty of the punch. Everything is done, and you can move on with your broken nose and your.
Because also there's a way that you get into this kind of domestic power exchange where you act out your microaggressions about other people's microaggressions perceived toward you. So what may start out as, you made me order the wrong IKEA cabinet, I guess is a thing that I do, could turn into, but there is a lot of the recycling that you've put in there that's way too big for the can, and that's a thing you could have taken care of.
Are you talking about like a titting for tatting? Is that what you're doing?
I think well, think about this. Okay, here's the thing. So, I'm a historical asshole. I was that guy that always get a girl to break up with me by being like, oh, well, you knew what you were in for, kind of guy, I don't say it like that. And so like, but the thing is, you're trying to almost draw a foul, I think is what they'd say in soccer, football. It's like, but like you're drawing that in, and you're almost in some ways trying to generate a punch in some ways, because you've been storing something up, and then those little microaggressions and paper cuts, those all accumulate, and then they come out in a burst about a cabinet that I was not involved in ordering. which is probably my fault, to be honest. Yeah.
I think we all acknowledge at the end of these types of conversations that it's to some extent our fault.
Part of it is, again, this is part of being an asshole. But like when you're young, you're so fucking stupid, and you're so stupid and so self-confident, and like you've never done anything wrong. You know what you're in for. Like you've never done anything wrong in your entire life, and the older you get, the more you go like, holy shit, I fucked up so many things, and I'm just starting to realize how many of those things there are. I don't even know how many things I didn't fuck up. I'm not encouraging you to file anything here that would, reflect on me. But that's part of it. Is like you go like, I probably did screw that up. I mean.
Yeah. As I get older, the repository of things that will suddenly occur to me that I did in the past that are so embarrassing that I make a sound out loud like, oh, or, oh.
Oh,
has grown so much.
Mine is
when you suddenly remember something that you did that was cringeworthy.
That's my freeform anxiety sound. It fits for lots of different things. It's kind of like the Wilhelm scream of my soul. It's just It's just like, oh no, that wasn't. I could have really avoided that by not being the way I was. And that's, as they say, tip of the iceberg. I don't even know what's going. I don't even know what people are saying in Slacks and stuff like that. I have no idea. I don't want to know. I got enough on my plate. By the way, sorry I picked bad plates. My bad.
I think for me, as long as the loop of remembering the cringeworthy moments is long enough, then I'm okay with mine is more like it's a little bit like that expression of what did I do?
A little pang.
What did I do 5 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
But when I was smoking a lot of weed, it was like the cycle was so short that the end of every day would be remembering every one of the cringeworthy moments throughout that day.
Ooh.
And that was very painful. That was like punching myself in the face.
Ooh.
So I had to stop that.
That seems like kind of like you're in like your own personal, like your own bespoke, like Minority Report cell.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you've put yourself
Memento,
into this, like some kind of permanent
I've
state.
my my micro errors are all over my chest, and at the end of the day I just take off my shirt and I'm like, oh no.
I didn't know I knew how to write backwards.
Chewed
write
with
that down.
mouth open.
Okay. All right. I think I give.
Made joke with server.
Yeah. So what we're talking about here is a version of Memento where it isn't things you need to remember about Joey Pants. It's things that you need to really. We're not talking about, these are the things you did wrong. Now you wear them upon you. I think the Old Testament says don't get tattoos. Maybe that was your first mistake. Is it remember, don't get a tattoo? Oh, I already fucked up and I misspelled tattoo.
Yeah.
No regrets. Yeah. But yeah, that could be. I guess that could be handy. I don't like looking in the mirror. I don't even like looking at this camera right now. Let alone that. But
there's a real tense challenge when it comes to trying to work through old mistakes. If I had some sort of open issue with you two, it wouldn't be that difficult. I could say, Adam, I'm sorry I stole your car that one time, etc. But one pants. It was pants. I wanted to make it seem less weird. And more felonious. I've thought about some of the things that I've done, and in the few times that I've tried to go back and apologize, it's often difficult because the other person, shockingly, has not been obsessed with the little thing that I did 7 years ago as much as I have. And so I often have to, A, remind them who I am, and then B, kind of set the stage again. And all it does is just make them upset. Like once I was in a bar in Seattle with a friend and his girlfriend. And this was a totally inadvertent mistake that I made. I was talking, and I don't know, this is going to be my new catchphrase. Have I told you guys this before? Because I can't remember what we've said to each other. But I was in a bar and a friend with his girlfriend, and they were leaving, and I was saying goodbye to him and hugged him, and then I was saying goodbye to her. I hugged her, and as I was making some sort of little joke, I went in for the hug, and my tongue just went right into her ear. And I know that seems improbable, that it was done with no volition on my part, but it was. I absolutely did not mean for that to happen. That is not a move that I would have done on purpose in any situation ever, but it sure did. And like 3 weeks later, I was like, "Oh, Jason, I have to tell you, I'm so sorry about this thing." And he was like, "What are you talking about?" And so then I had to take him through the moment, and we had to bring Kevin Costner back to kind of talk through exactly how it was possible for physically speaking. It's sort of this weird tenor of my stories today, is that they are live in my memory but physically impossible.
Wait, so did you put your tongue in his ear or his girlfriend's ear?
In his girlfriend's ear.
What was her reaction in that moment?
Her reaction was negligible. I don't know if.
But you must have concocted that she had gone right home and told Jason all about this, and they had 3 weeks worth of discussions about what to do now.
That's what I had supposed. Yeah. And it's also possible that she didn't even notice, or that because she had really no reaction. I might have said, "Oh, sorry," like something very very casually in the moment.
As though you'd stepped on her foot. But this is one of the things that makes awkwardness awkward, is that it's rarely symmetrical or sensible to both people. And that's one of the reasons I refuse to stop drinking, because it's my understanding that then I have to go and make amends.
Oh, yeah.
Blah, 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 other steps. But at some point, you have to be that angry, like dry drunk that goes to someone like,
no, that's on the...
That time I fucking put my tongue in your ear. It was an accident. Whatever. Amend.
That's listed in the end user license agreement of every bottle of Smirnoff. Nobody ever reads to the end, but if you stop, you have to say sorry for everything.
Nostravia. Click to continue. It's difficult to make other people neurotic in the same way that we are, unless they're in your family. And you do have like a sphere of control there, but I think that's part of the the complexity. It's like you go to your friend and you're like, "Here's a bunch of shit you didn't know I did. Like, you know, like, oh, you know, I borrowed your car, I came in your car, I stole your car, like all these different kinds of things. They're like, I had no idea. I thought, you know, maybe it was a, you know, meet up for furries or something. I don't have any way of knowing. But I think but what I'm trying to get at is that, like, and I've learned this from the television show Ted Lasso, that forgiveness is powerful. And that a true apology, an actual apology tendered in the service of making something right is powerful. And I don't think I've ever done that. I think every time I've apologized, it's just to as quickly as possibly get to the, you're good, don't worry, everything's fine. You can go back to being worried about something different now.
I see what you're saying.
Do you know the distinction, though? The distinction
I'm
of, like,
absolutely
I'm
the same way.
I'm genuinely sorry that I made this error, ideally on the day it happened, rather than say 35 years later where you have to send them a Facebook link.
Yeah, it just makes the reunion weird.
The thing that feels most unjust to me is when I do feel truly sorry and I'm truly expressing a true apology, and then it's turned back on me as, you don't actually mean that, you're not sorry, you'll never be sorry. I don't know why that above all else. That's why I like Michael J. Fox. That's my Marty McFly chicken, you know, is if I'm, you know, wearing my life preserver and I say sorry and they say, you're not sorry, that I'm just gonna explode. I don't know what it is. Why is that? Why is it that questioning
You saying
my
somebody calls
integrity-
you on that, you feel that's unjust, and then you hulk out a little bit in an Adam way?
Yeah. We've never talked about that before. I hulked out in front of you guys one time.
When did you hulk out in front of us? When was that?
In Austin.
It's probably my fault. It's probably my fault. I apologize.
It wasn't your fault. It was
Really?
God. Like if we're getting things off our chest.
Oh God, no. Please keep it on your chest. Cut to it. It's so vital.
Good idea.
Yeah, no. Yeah, let's just assume that the three of us have a blanket acknowledgement that it's all fine.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay, so this would
weighing
be.
on me.
Okay, well, listen, if you're going to apologize, we got to get into particulars, and it can't be about me. We're talking about the Zoso Fest, like that time, the time we were at the thing and did the parlor.
Oh no. No. This was
Earlier.
in Austin. That was Portland.
Because you're a real asshole at that too. Yeah.
Was I?
You're not really apologizing. You don't even know what you're apologizing for.
No. And I'm not sorry. You know
Adam
what? Fuck you, I'm not
Smash.
sorry.
But, like, okay, so, like, when you're young, not only do you feel like you're invulnerable, at least I'll speak for myself. I felt like I was very invulnerable, that that I'd never done anything wrong, that the world was out to get me. You know, I lived in Florida, so I had every reason to believe that. But it's like they say, you know, little learning is dangerous, and like a little bit of insight is way worse than a little learning. Because a little bit of that is where, like, it's almost like me trying to fix my own car based on like tapping the side and listening and going like, oh, I'm pretty sure it's the timing belt or what. I don't know what a timing belt sounds like, let alone if it knocked it would say anything back to me. But that little bit of insight is where you make the most kind of fragile, basic, essentially non-existent connection. And then now you apply that as a template. Do you know what I mean? In other ways. And then as you get older, you're like, oh no, this whole thing's a shit show. Like none of this stuff makes any sense. It's all a mess. We're all terrible. I didn't go to my high school reunions for this very reason. I didn't go to my high school reunions because I was pretty sure everybody was mad at me for the same things that I was mad at myself about.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, wow.
Did you wait? You know, you guys went, right?
No,
I went
I've
to the
never
10.
been to
I went to the
reunion.
10. It was fun enough, and then I didn't need that anymore.
Well, talk about that. What was it like? So all the reports I get from the increasingly narrowingly small number of people I still talk to from previous lives, they all say, "Oh no, it was really fun. They wished you were there," and you know, blah blah blah. What was your impression? Was it what you expected? Did anybody take you to task? You know, what did you expect? What'd you get?
No, I didn't get called out for anything, and I didn't expect to get called out for anything. And it was in 2006, so it was like sort of pre social network stuff, and I didn't. So it was really just out of the morbid curiosity of seeing everybody. So that would have been what, like 20, like late 20s is your 10-year anniversary. So seeing people just kind of like bulk up a little bit, which is not a depressing amount of bulk.
The first inch. after college. The first
Yeah.
pants, they've bought the first larger pant size.
Right. And you just kind of see what careers everybody's settling into, and it's still close enough to youth that it's not dark and depressing at that point. And I feel like after that passed, then I had no interest in seeing everybody age. That was
I'm terrified.
that was all I needed. But it was
terrified.
fun. I remember like I wore a tie and a short sleeve shirt, and I took off the.
Yeah, you did.
So you want to imply that you worked at NASA or?
Yeah. It's a good look. That's a good look. God.
Yeah.
It's extremely. What is that look? Yeah, that look is either 60s engineer, 80s science teacher.
Yeah, exactly. Government employee, but that could be a good look. Make people envious of the like of your good insurance and stuff like that. I always have figured that what it was going to be. Like you think about like setting aside all the people who obviously peaked when they were 15 or 16. I do have a morbid curiosity about seeing what's happening with their disposition. As somebody who made me feel terrible when I was young. And maybe you could come in loaded for bear. I don't know. This seems a little bit like a Simpsons episode, but I don't like any kind of a situation where I have to see people from my past or from my future. I'd rather just, it's nice being here with you guys, but Adam, why'd you Hulk out? Do you remember? Was it backstage? Was it on stage?
I mean, like it's all in the past. No, when we were in Austin for South by Southwest, and there was a man, I think a young veteran that was out for a good time with his best girl on his side, and I was walking with Albert, with Soul Brother, and it's all coming back to you.
Oh my God! Yes, you. Am I remembering the right thing? Oh God, Albert's so goddamn funny.
Yeah.
I think you were going to bring some frontier justice to that veteran. Am I remembering right?
I want to say the initial impulse was a bit vice versa. He wanted to bring some frontier justice to Adam, who was sartorially experimenting at the time.
Yeah, that's right. Like I had put something on my head because, a lot of beers, and I put something on my head. I guess maybe it gave him a little bit of like PTSD to seeing somebody with a turban type of a headwear on, and he really freaked out, and he wanted to he was not into it. It was very xenophobic.
Did he inquire?
gesture.
Did he inquire as to whether you might want a piece of him? Was it along those lines?
That kind of thing. And then, I mean, I've never been in a fight in my life, but our friend Albert knows how to defend himself, and he's former military as well. And then, but it's just like drunk idiots, like in a melee on the sidewalk. And then once I strategically waited until Albert kind of had this guy pinned on the sidewalk. That's when I think I really hulked out, because then I knew nothing was going to happen to me. And I do remember you were there, Merlin, and in retrospect, for many, many years, including right now, I am so embarrassed for the machismo that I brought to that moment. Like I was actually going to do something.
No, not at all. I just remember you suddenly becoming fairly bolt upright. You had a kind of posture I'd never seen you evince before, and I knew that business had become serious, and you got a real kind of look,
I remember my role in this, which was
you disappeared an hour earlier.
I think close. I think I think I would go with this again. There was a scrum, and I elected to be the guy who went to look for a police car.
Oh, did you?
Up the street. That was my job. That was both active and completely safe. Like I'm helping.
I thought everybody that used to work at Apple was like a combat veteran. That's not true for you. You don't know jujitsu and stuff.
I was Coast Guard, so we never. There was no touching in the Coast Guard.
That's rule number one.
Rule number one.
We guard the coast. We do not touch it or each other.
That's a tough line of business, being in the redheaded stepchild of the armed forces, a totally legitimate branch of the armed forces that do, I would say on an average day, probably the average person in the Coast Guard does more stuff terms of guarding the borders or safety or drug patrols and all that stuff.
But you could say that about an elementary school custodian. It doesn't. I mean, part of the problem is, like, if you're a Marine, you get all this cool stuff. Like, you get to say, like, you know, we like the coldest chow and the pointiest sticks or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
they have a
first to
Latin
go,
motto.
last to know. There's a lot of rhyming in the Marines, I'm given to believe. But like in the Coast Guard, like, what do you have like a do you have things that you say? Like, is you know what it is a lot? Like, sometimes I watch cable news and they bring somebody on and they're talking about, you know, the pandemic, and they say, we're here with Dr. Oslingham. And it's like, oh, cool, Dr. Oslingham. And like, so you got the one guy who's got the lab coat with his fucking name on it and the stethoscope, and you go, that's that kind of doctor. And then Dr. Oslingham comes on, and like, can we interrogate what kind of doctor this person is? Like my construction teacher in high school was a doctor he was a dietitian, and he was a doctor. And I'm not saying there's no achievement
Absolutely.
in getting that, but we should disambiguate that. I thank you for your service. Unless you're in the Coast Guard, then I'm going to say, you know, you probably got a pretty good deal.
Their uniforms sort of tell it all. I don't know if you've seen the dress uniform for the Coast Guard, but it's sort of a business suit with epaulets. It's not combat ready.
It's closer to Scientology than Eisenhower.
It's a little Sea Org. It's a little more Sea Org than it is we can take the coast of Libya.
So when you join up with one of these, I was heavily courted by the Air Force.
Were you really?
I was. I had taken something called the ASVAB, the Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Battery. And I think I've told you this story. Have I told you this story? And I was informed by a guy who happened to work at a recruiting office that I should join the Air Force. And so he brought me in, he picked me up in a government vehicle and gave me a bunch of coffee and showed me some films. And he said, because I'd done well on the ASVAB, I think he as they say, cross tabs, I think he cross-indexed that with the fact that I was not in college and had not taken the SAT. So I think if you've done very well on the ASVAB but haven't taken the SAT, that's the kind of person you pick up in a vehicle and give coffee to.
Prime. It sounds like picking up in a vehicle and being given coffee is very, very special episode sounding.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you help me find my puppy? Can you help me get this couch into my government van? What size are you? 14? I don't know. I don't want to steal valor. I mean, thank you to everybody for their service. You know what? Now I feel bad. I feel like I should have. I feel like I should apologize.
Do you need to get your skin pen out and say something regretful?
Don't make Scientology jokes about the Coast Guard.
Oh, let me tell you, that's a bad pandemic purchase. I'm tangential to a group of people who, right before the lockdown started, became the owners of a tattoo gun.
Well, it's like a tenancy in common, like they disinfect it between uses, but like
it's one of those houses full of people illegally, like who are just there are more residents than there are on the lease, and there are a lot of them in this house, and there may or may not be scabies, but there's definitely a tattoo gun.
So they went, and you know what? I bet there's at least one person that didn't give the full amount, but still wants to use it and takes it to their room and stuff. Isn't that always the way? It's like getting a TV on wheels, But pony up the dough if you want to watch the Happy Days.
Somebody claims ownership.
If you want to go and ink your regrets onto your narrow concave chest, pony up, Todd. Like this thing doesn't ink itself. Okay, so and then have you seen any? Now is that the kind of thing where like if you're a doctor, you practice your hypodermics on like an orange? Like, do you practice tattooing if you're new to the world of tattooing and you want to get good at it? What do you practice on?
I don't know if you know anything about this. I don't. I know that there's something, and it might be.
I think we could speculate.
Yeah.
DoorDash guy. Maybe you have somebody come in and you say, yes, you're my rabbit now. And then like you offer them, you're going to cross their palm a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, just because you own a tattoo gun doesn't make you a gifted artist. But
no, it doesn't.
More's the pity, I guess.
There must be something like barber school, but for tattoo artists, right? Where you can go and get a discounted rate on a piece of permanent art written onto your skin.
And it all depends on who you get.
Oh,
right?
It sure does.
It's like Comcast. Comcast customer support, right? It depends on who you get. It could be a real problem. Don't call at 6:55 a.m. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But let's say you're new. You want to get a wash and rinse, or maybe you want to get a Jesus fish, and so you go in to lose tattoos school, a certified C1 corporation. You go in and you could say, now do you get to pick, or is that something when you go in and get a test tattoo or a learner's permit tattoo, do you get to pick it, or is it what they're working on today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, maybe assuming there's a curriculum and an exam in which they're required to do, the regrettable woman's name in cursive over the nipple, the rose, the Jesus fish,
maybe
chameleon.
portrait of a baby.
Yep.
That would be probably pretty advanced. It could be. You could start with really simple stuff, like you say, like, okay, well, today we're working on you killed a guy, so you get a teardrop. So a lady comes in and says she wants a mushroom on her foot, and you say you should come back. She should have been here last week. We're doing murder tears today. Is that something we could do it on your foot if you want? You could have a murder tear on your foot. When my wife told me my niece had gotten a foot tattoo, I thought she meant she'd gotten a tattoo of a foot. Now this is exactly the kind of thing that you need to clarify when you go to lose or whatever it's called. And you have to be super clear with people. You want to really. It's like maybe like with a haircut where you really want to over communicate. What you'd like to end up with. Curriculum. So you learn, hopefully, God willing, you learn how to be safe. You put on those gloves or whatever. But do you maybe you start with some life drawing, but when it's time to finally slip the gun into somebody's hand, where do you start? What do you do first?
Do you guys enjoy those BuzzFeed list posts of the worst tattoos that have ever been? Like, you're not familiar with this?
No, I love them. I love them so much.
I'm familiar. I don't love them.
You don't love them. Okay, so you're odd man out because Merlin and I are gonna agree.
We could also do an Oxford style debate if you'd be willing to host that.
My point being, I'm gonna get there. My point being is that you tend to see the same featured tattoos on all these lists over the years, and who knows whether there's residuals involved for these tattoos. But it strikes me that it might be a good idea to design a tattoo intentionally to appear on a BuzzFeed list of terrible tattoos, thereby ensuring
you get paid in exposure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like when you're the
Make sure
opening
your face
band.
is in there. Maybe it's a face tattoo that says like "No, not here" or something like that. Like something that says like I didn't intend to get this tattoo right here, but you did. Maybe it's a foot on your face.
You get a foot face, the foot face way, or it also could be like if you get fail cakes, or you get like bad commemorative trophies that say, I just want the trophy with no words on it. And there's been some confusion. And then now you're into a Borges situation. You go to the Borges trophy place and they make you a trophy of your trophy and tattoo it on your tear foot.
So you're saying
I don't know how it would work.
No, I think I know exactly how it would work. You just, we started off this conversation talking about the mistakes that we made in our relationships. Adam is suggesting that one builds physical testament to the capacity for mistakes in everything. So you come to my mistake house, which has 3 windows and no door. Funny, it's going to be on a listicle. You come in the window, you see that my house is all bedroom. It's just one big bedroom. Everything in my life, from activity to object, is something that BuzzFeed would love to put as number 7 on a list of something shitty.
That's right. Everything is a mistake that is engineered to bring other people joy.
Right.
Oh my God, that's so generous. Really, truly let it begin with me. So so it could be something, it's my understanding you go in and you go in and like you look through their book, right? And you look through all the things and you're like, my friend already has a no regrets, or just a black metal misspelling. But the reason I came to this particular mistake house is I would like to explore that. My interest is in having something that would make for an excellent thing to eventually have covered up. So it could be fun. It could be a work in progress. Your whole body, your largest organ, your skin becomes the city of Rome, and you're building up. You start with something that's easy to cover, and then maybe that cover-up tattoo is maybe not so good either, because you're going to need to learn how to do both. So why not make the mistake up front and then learn how to fix it, maybe on the same day after it heals a little bit? I don't know how that works.
You're the old lady who's swallowed something very small.
Yes.
I see.
It's the tattoo that Jack built. Yeah.
That's a wonderful idea, because then when somebody points to, I guess what at a certain point would look like a 12-inch radius horrible bruise or wound on your body, you could tell them the story of the 32 mistake tattoos that are buried underneath it. Right?
Oh, like an Amy Winehouse, where you're working in smaller tattoos. You get a whole constellation, a whole like sort of Mother Goose of bad decision making, and then you might have sort of a larger omnibus project for covering that up, but not very well. And that's what we do at Mistake House.
Welcome to Mistake
But
House.
like you think about that. Think about how John Gruber likes to wear that shirt that says, "What are you looking at, Dick Nose?" and it lacks a comma. Now, John's a smart guy. John knows from commas, but he still paid money for a shirt that he saw in a movie in the '80s. Like maybe that's the thing where like the kid. I understand irony. People still love irony. You know, maybe don't dress for the tattoo you wish you hadn't gotten.
I like that. I mean, when you come to Mistake House and you look at our extensive encyclopedia of tattoos that you shouldn't get, we could probably talk you into getting something else that you shouldn't get. Like tattoos are just one aspect of
maybe
the
you wandered in because you
lifestyle.
thought it was a steakhouse. And you misheard, maybe because you'd been drinking, let's be honest. You heard Mistake House.
Sure.
You come in, we don't offer you steak, we offer you a lobster. And let's be honest, the lobster, like all lobsters, is very old. It's been here a long time. We've been practicing tattoos on the lobster. Maybe we serve you that. You're like, but it's a bad decision making food court in some ways. We have we only have one episode, don't we? We have one episode, and then we just change a few little things about it.
Yeah, we haven't come up with a child to do some sort of labor yet for us.
Okay, well, let's see. We got tattoos, international waters, voting, baby butlers. Yeah, I don't know I'm not sure exactly what it would be, but like the thing is, people love a challenge. And here's the other thing: is like right now, California is going through a terrible time with the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, you can only have 10 people in the bar until 10 p.m. and that's safe, but no later. Okay, listen, I'm serious this time. Don't make me say 7 because I will. Like, how are we going to get through this? Now there's all kinds of restrictions and it's very regional. But the Mistake House, I mean, I think that really it's already printed with a misspelling on the sign that there's going to be things here that are not going to be super clear. So what is it zoned for? Right? So, like, what can't we make a mistake with here? There's a whole bunch of different. Maybe it's like me, maybe I accidentally tried to save some money and bought the smaller hard drive, and now it doesn't work. Or maybe it's something along the lines of you want to get like one of those like Ed Begley Jr. old electric cars. I want to get an electric car. Well, we have one right here. We have one right here. And we could also tattoo an image of it onto you, but it won't really look like that. We could also put a tattoo on your car. But what are the kinds of things you can't undo? Like even with a tattoo, and I don't know if it's obvious, I'm not a huge fan of tattoos. I don't have any tattoos. I honor people who get tattoos, is the thing I'll say out loud. But like the kinds of like sort of, do you remember the ritual scarification thing? Remember the like Research Magazine thing of like in the 90s there was that whole like survival research lab and people doing all kinds of like ritual scarifications and the guy who would hang himself from hooks and stuff like that. I don't know if there's any opportunity there, but maybe people who would like to have we'll call it a pairing. Even though we're not technically a restaurant, we'll call it a pairing of pain and poor decision making. So maybe your lobster is attached to you as a kind of scarification, like a Canadian lobster, not like a Maine lobster.
With
Suboptimal.
scarification, are you supposed to only do it on yourself, or are there scar artists? I know that wasn't intended to be that wasn't a.
Was that portmanteau? Racism? What is that? Yeah, no. I think, and it's not. It is supposed to hurt, right? Isn't a tattoo supposed to hurt? You know, it's like that dog says by definition that crush must hurt.
Yeah, at Mistake House, maybe there are scar artists, but they're just not very good at it. So what they'll do is they'll like rub you with a towel for a long time, with the intention of scarring,
like a
you.
Native American burn or something.
Yeah,
Or like
yes.
maybe it only like a cover up
noogie,
tattoo.
like a not permanent noogie.
Oh,
Like,
well, let me tell you, what would this gives me an idea that shoots off from this, and I think honestly into the billionaire stratosphere, the provisional tattoo. So you go to a tattoo artist, you go into the hut, and you say, listen, I've had 3 glasses of Smirnoff, and when I say glasses, I don't mean shots, I mean the large one.
Tumblers.
I read the agreement, I agreed to it, and so here we go.
Yeah.
I'm ready to make a mistake. I want Halle Berry on my left shoulder. and you know, I don't want Halle Berry and Catwoman. I want Halle Berry now, a picture that I found on Google searching Halle Berry now. I want it on my left shoulder. The tattoo artist says, all right, let's do it. And then they do it, and it hurts, and it takes 6 hours, and it costs $700.
And there was a confusion because this is the kind of thing you're facing at Mistake House. Is they thought so you should have Googled for Halle Berry young. The problem is or feet or net worth, but the problem is the person doing it thought you meant Marion Barry, and because if you think about it, compared to everything else, those are actually weirdly similar. So like maybe you get a mistake inside the mistake. It's recursion all the way through, kind of a thing. A Mandelbrot set, or it could be a lot. But you come in and you ask for something. You don't know what you're going to get. You get what you get, and you don't get upset. Omakase tattoos, House of Whoops.
I think House of Whoops in my mind is turning into something a bit different, and that's you go and you make mistakes in the mistake house, and you feel the consequences of those mistakes. But when you leave Whoops, they're not there anymore. You've gone through the pain of getting a Halle Berry tattoo on your left shoulder and a Marion Barry tattoo. I assume in situ on your right shoulder,
Right.
And it hurt, and it cost $700. And you stay at Mistake House for a couple of nights because you want to sleep off at least one of the benders that caused you to make this bad decision. And you want that Memento mirror experience where you look in the mirror and you see that you've got 2 new friends when your shirt's off. But the tattoo, it goes away. It's not a real tattoo.
God, that would be such a relief. It's like canceled plans. It's like when you wake up the next day and you discover it wasn't even Marion Barry, it's Marion Cunningham. You think, well, that would have been cool. I would have liked that, but now I have to leave. I really should get going. But I probably won't because, I asked for a place to sleep and they gave me this futon. And really, who buys a futon? It's a mistake. Don't buy a futon. That's where all futons go. It lives on the street for a little while and then somebody drags you into the mistake. Sleep it off. But then you say you rub it off. You rub it off.
I think it just, it comes off in the shower. You don't know that. You have to really believe that this is a mistake that you're making. Otherwise, the psychological cleansing is
not called House of Temporary Error.
Yeah, exactly. Or I thought I made a boo-boo. It's this is a place where you go to do something serious, and thank God in the end it wasn't.
It's a simulation.
Your mother.
It's like
it wasn't your mother that
you
called.
The Total Recall or the Fincher movie, The Game. You think you're signing up, or somebody else signs you up for the.
I love that. I love that, but like you have to believe in your heart of hearts that we wake up the next day and realize you did hand stuff with the guy who gave you your Marion Cunningham tattoo, and like that's going to be serious regrets. So maybe we give you a tattoo for that, and at this point, are we done here? No, we're not. Now that's an actual tattoo, as far as you know.
Well, you guys both.
Do you want to put your lobster into one of those aluminum foil swabs? You want to take that with you?
And finally...
Yeah, I guess there's a lot. People, you know what it is? You know what people love? Okay, here's the thing. Tying it all back together. What do we know? We know we like to feel like we've survived something and learned a little bit.
Right.
So really, you're right. This is basically David Fincher's House of Whoops. And so you come in here and what's his name? Sean Cassidy? Who's the guy that was married to the lady from House of Cards? Sean Cassidy. What's his name? Sean
Penn. Chris.
Oh yeah,
Sean Penn.
Sean Penn buys you a night at House of Whoops because you need to learn something about yourself. Right. Yeah, it's a little bit. It's a little bit like Saw, meets a food court and doing hand stuff on a futon. But that way you get to come out and go, woof, I can't believe I survived that. And then you get in your 3-wheeled Ed Begley car and drive away. Record. Let me
take your time.
Leave meeting.
Oh, bye, Merlin.
Oh.
Okay.
We never saw him again. He disappeared.
That's the show.